Hi, everybody. Jason Debono, president of NuView Trust Company, an alternative asset custodian, here to talk a little bit about what's going on with the proposed $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill that made its way out of the House Ways and Means Committee a couple of days ago. There's a lot of information in there to digest, but I want to highlight a few areas of major concern for those of us that are in the alternative asset space, specifically those dealing with retirement accounts investing into alternative assets. There are two provisions inside there, Section 138312, which is the prohibition of IRA investments conditioned on account holder status, that I want to take particularly close look into. This particular section outlines and prohibits on a go-forward basis any IRA holder from investing into any private offering that has an accredited investor requirement. It appears that impacts both the federal accredited investor and state accredited investor guidelines. This means that any high net worth individual that's accustomed to investing into private investments would be prohibited. So would individuals that have grown since the Jobs Act in 2012 to be able to invest into more crowdfunding or other type opportunities or investments that have been made available to really the average everyday investor. Not only will they not be able to make these investments any longer, but it's also provisioned as it stands today to require these to be unwound in the next 2 years. That means that billions and billions of investment dollars sitting into real estate, energy, and the likes in private investments would have to be liquidated and returned back, which would have a material effect on the investments, a material effect on the communities in which these investments reside, as well as a material effect on the advisors and financial institutions that have been holding or dealing with these assets that are now going to be put in a very tight deadline to try to unwind them. All of these items can and will have catastrophic damages to a variety of industries and won't just affect high net worth individuals, but they're going to impact Main Street across America. The second section I'd like to point to is section 138.314, which is the prohibition of investments of IRA assets in entities in which the owner has a substantial interest. Now, another area of concern whereby any investment, accredited requirement or not, would not be able to be held through a retirement account if the IRA owner had any sort of involvement or substantial interest in that deal. And there's a long laundry list of deals that would fall into this. We see this a lot in private investments, but this is another area of concern and something that we should be looking at as an industry as a whole. There's additional provisions in there on Roth conversions and limitations on Roth caps for total account size, all of which would require a lot of changes from a financial planning standpoint and could have impact on a lot of the financial planning decisions that have been made to date. It doesn't appear to include many grandfather provisions, so many of these things would go contrary to the decisions that have been made based on the code that's been available to a lot of the advisors, helping customers make these decisions out there. So regardless of how you are involved in these different industries and assets, it's important for you to take some time to look and see how you can help, understand its impact to your business, and then my suggestion is to take a strong look at your industry associations and groups and find out how you can assist in their lobbying efforts. You can also reach out to your local congressional leaders and representatives to let them know that these items that are being addressed will have very little financial impact from a budget standpoint, as the expected amount to gain from a budgetary standpoint is very minimal, but the impact to the consumers, to the communities, and to the overall investors that this will have a negative impact on will be grand. And so let's see if we can get out there as an industry and make some changes and let our representatives know that this doesn't need to be included and strongly suggest they look at making changes to it over time. Thank you for your consideration.